Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance Lowe and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance Lowe and Seth Hicks. Vance, how are you?
I'm doing great today. I'm thankful to live in our country. I enjoy the freedoms that we have, and I'm really anxious to pick up where we left off last time.
Yeah, we're in a multi-part series on financial freedom. A lot of people come to us for help in wanting to establish financial freedom, become financially free. And so at Private Banking Strategies, that's one of our fundamental focuses, is to help people become financially free. And today we're going to do a third part of a multi-part series on financial freedom and achieving financial freedom strategies for stable growth and wealth protection. And just really excited, like you are, Vance, to dig into this and help people define their financial freedom goals.
Over the last week, some new things have come to mind. We're in the process right now through the outline we're working on. We're talking about the step-by-step things we need to do. And as I do that, a recent history I have with clients, and we start talking and I start saying, okay, here's a step. This is how we do it. I'm still amazed at the English language because I can say one thing and mean one thing, but the person hearing it hears it differently and puts on a different meaning. So the reason I'm bringing that up right now is that a lot of times when we get cross with someone, or they said they were going to do this and they didn't, or you promised this and it didn't happen, it's because of interpretation. No one, I like to assume this, no one wants to deceive or cheat someone, a family member or anyone else. And so there's miscommunication, they call it, because of the way we interpret. And so it's very, very important when we've already outlined 3 critical laws that you need to be willing to live and adapt when it comes to money, or it's not gonna grow for you. You've got to understand what those meanings and those interpretations are. And the way you do that is you delve into it and you look at it from all different angles. You hear all different type of subjects on it, different lectures or whatever else. It's the whole purpose for our podcast, folks. We try to take different angles to try to help you. It's that bulb that comes on, the aha moment. Oh, now I understand what he means by this. It's always confused me. So we're going to get into 5 more laws or step-by-steps that you need to be aware of, and or a lot of time we call it conquering or defeating. We face these all the time. We may or may not know that we do, but these laws are in Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. We've already talked about the famous grocery store story in other podcasts, but I want to bring in, as part of what this financial freedom is all about, in order for us to live these 3 money laws, there are other rules we have to abide by. I'll bet you everyone here listening to this, Seth, has gone through this experience. They've gotten to a point where their budget is too tight. They've overcommitted. They bought more house maybe than they should, or a bigger car. They bought stuff, and now just trying to make the minimum payments is all they can do. Folks, that is financial slavery. You now owe your soul, so to speak, to those who have the debt over you, and they're making a lot of money on you because a lot of your payment is going for interest. We call that situation, and the way to get out of it, Parkinson's law. Parkinson was a man that introduced himself to Congress and government right after World War II, saying he had a great way of doing things. I don't want to get into his story, but the essentials of Parkinson's law is this: a luxury once lived becomes a necessity. We think that, okay? But the take home and the takeaway is to live Parkinson's law, we have to bring home more money than we spend. That will help us with the 10% law that we've already talked about. So we're living within our means is what we're doing. That's the discipline we're looking for. We're not asking you to write out an absolute strict budget that you have to live by, because I've never been able to do that. I need my mad money, my unaccounted money. We don't want to change your lifestyle. We want to change how you're dealing with money so you can get it back. Okay. So Parkinson's law is absolutely critical. So as you do your financial affairs, don't fall in love with things you need to purchase. I made that mistake with cars, and I can look back on my history now, and every car I fell in love with that I bought either got hail damaged or wrecked. Every single one of them. Now, the cars I didn't care about at all, they would buy just fine. Okay. Cars are transportation, and no matter whether you like them or not, they're going to wear out. And so if you'll adapt that, and if your goal is to become financially independent, then get your way through transportation as cheap as possible. And that's another discussion. We can talk about that. So live within your means, your homes, the type of luxuries you buy in your home. Could that be put towards your financial success? Because all the items you absolutely fall in love with and live with today are not going to be around tomorrow. Might be 5 years, 10 years or something. We just replaced our refrigerator. We just did it. We just had it installed yesterday. And I looked at my wife and I said, why do we need another fridge? She said, well, it's time. And she said, Vance, do you realize we've had this fridge for 20 years? I go, okay. So she picked out a very practical refrigerator, and we now have a new fridge. The old one's out in the garage. So Parkinson's law is critical, that we kind of adapt that, and we have the attitude that tomorrow we want to be better off. The world out there is saying, live for today, that we don't know what the future is going to be. So just live your fullest today. And we see that attitude a lot, and it's really sad because they don't have anything for tomorrow. Most people don't. So you do, and we need to do it in such a way that we don't put it at risk. So Parkinson's law is one of those laws out there that we really want to have and help govern our purchases. There's another one that I want to talk about of these 5. It's called the arrival syndrome, Seth. In America, we're all kind of opinionated, I guess, maybe compared to other companies, maybe not. I mean, if we have so much information bombarding us that we rat hole information. And when it comes to a topic and somebody's trying to tell you something and you hear it, it's going to trigger in your subconscious your experience about that product. Okay. Oh, no, I know what that is all about. I'm okay with that. So arrival syndrome is, I've been there, I've done that. I know all about that. I don't need to know anymore. It reminds me of that Howard Johnson hotel advertisement. He's doing brain surgery, and the nurse looks at this guy and says, who are you? Oh, I'm such and such. Are you a surgeon? He said, no, but I've stayed at a Howard Johnson's. Sometimes life happens that way. So arrival syndrome, we need to understand, and again, I refer back to Nelson Nash's book, it's not so much about what we don't know about a topic. It's all about what we think we know that's incorrect, that is really hurting us. So arrival syndrome, don't be afraid to learn something new, something you think you know about. Listen to the other angle, listen to the other side. And when I started doing that years and years ago, I was so much more productive, not only at work, but with my family, my kids, and my grandkids. I think I know a lot more about life than my grandkids. But when I sit them down and listen to their side of things, I can appreciate where they're coming from.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue, but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Well, it's the same thing in the context of financial freedom and wealth management, is that people think they understand how to get where they want to go. But when you actually look at their ideas, their plans, their habits, their disciplines, what's actually going on, and it's incongruent with where they want to go, and you can begin to superimpose some of these laws that we're describing, like live within your means, the Parkinson's law, the arrival syndrome. Re-examine your financial strategies and pictures and come to us with an open mind and flip things on their head. And I think that's what you're inviting people to do, to make a drastic wealth curve change for them and their family.
You know, it reminds me that we have a lot of our successful athletes accomplish new world records. We like to hear how they did it. What did it for you? And there's always a common theme about that is and I call it pulling up stakes. Stakes are tied to our imagination, and we feel like we can go so far and no further. And we put stakes in the ground to that point, and we won't go past that. These athletes, they don't have that. They have the imagination that they're going to be the best in the world, and they're going to sacrifice whatever it's going to take to get there. And sometimes that's a huge sacrifice for them to get there. And that reminds me of the next law. It's called use it or lose it. How many fantastic ideas have you heard in your lifetime, but you never acted upon? And now they're forgotten. Here, we're going to teach and lay out a new way to think about money and to deal with money. If we think about money the way we're thinking about it now, we're always going to get the same results, which is not the results we like. So we have to actually make a total lifestyle change mentally and physically with this. I think that'd probably be the hardest part. As far as learning it, setting it up, and running it, it's simple. But to actually switch the mental thinking, we need to do it. So I was on an interview. We were on our third interview, and it had taken a long time to get to this point. I call it the clearing account, where I actually show them how to set it up and operate it and get the money back every month. And there was a gap there. I asked them, did you watch these videos? Did you do your homework? And they said, yes. But I said, when's the last time you read Nelson Nash's book? And then, 6 months ago. It's not set up and they're not living it. So they can't remember everything. And when we learn something new, or we want to replace a habit in our life, we have to replace it with something else to be successful. I like smoking. I don't smoke, and I haven't had, the problem of being addicted to it. But most people who try to quit smoking and don't successfully are able to do that, they go back to smoking, is because they never replaced it with something. So this use it or lose it, we're going to give you the replacement. And we need to have you actually use it. It's a great idea. It's fantastic. You're not going to believe the compounding effects that you're going to have. You're not going to believe the way it's set up that triggers no taxable events to do these types of things. It's a whole different way of thinking about money, but it sure is fun. It's what wakes me up in the morning. So at this point, Seth, if we follow these laws, several other bullet points I think we could probably mention are automatically going to occur. Can you think of some of those?
Sure. So as we formulate an 8-year roadmap, it's going to clearly define the financial goals, what your financial freedom looks like. And that begins with, defining what you want to achieve. Some people are focused on early retirement. They're heavy in credit card debt. They want to get out of the credit card debt. We have a great chiropractor podcast that goes into a family that was heavily in revolving high interest debt that came out super successful. And so I invite people, if you happen to be someone in our audience today that's heavy in credit card debt or just heavy in debt, go into our podcast resources at privatebankingstrategies.com. There's a resources tab with a drop down where all of our podcasts are. You can also find it on any format that you like, Blueberry, and go to the chiropractor podcast series and listen to those, and you will be filled with hope and shown a way that you can actually get out of overwhelming mountainous debt. So back to your question, just as a first bullet point, it helps you to achieve some financial freedom goals. Set your plan in place. So that's a start, but there are many. I mean, for example, you talked about a budget, Vance, and how people, some people live and die by a budget, some don't. But this 8-year roadmap helps establish discipline, prioritized financial payment. And so that's another great attribute of it.
There's a few more on there. You'll find that there's an emergency budget in there. You've got excess funds in there for emergency. One of the main reasons people have credit card debt is because the unexpected happened. They're not living Parkinson's law. They're really tight to begin with because, hey, the numbers add up. I'm actually bringing this much home, therefore I can make this much in payments, but they didn't factor in the unknown. So a lot of things will happen. You'll be able to focus in as one of the goals, high interest debt, for instance. And I don't know, it wasn't too long ago, but for some reason, at one point in time, the most they could ever charge for a credit card was 18%, if that was in default. And then those usury laws were completely abandoned. And now it's over, the average is over 25%. Many state that their credit cards are at 35% interest. So, folks, wouldn't you rather make that than pay it? And so that's something that we love to show very, very quickly. It's very easy to flip-flop it. You'd rather own the debt than to have to pay it to somebody else. So these are all parts of these steps to financial freedom. So in this 8-year analysis, since that's all defined, and these 5 rules or laws that are in Nelson Nash's book, one is called the Golden Rule. I grew up saying the Golden Rule was do unto others as have them do unto you. Nelson redefines that as he who has the gold makes the rules. If you have it, you get to do it your way. And that gives you more autonomy and financial freedom, which is the topic here. Freedom of choice and being more anonymous, so to speak, to where your privacy is better. There's another one out there, the Willie Sutton law. Tell us about that, Seth.
Yeah, Willie Sutton was a bank robber who was eventually caught. And when he was caught, they interviewed him and asked, well, why were you stealing money from the banks? And he incredulously replied, duh, that's where the money is. Someone is going to be trying to rob the bank. And so your personal bank, there are outside third-party actors that are trying to get their hands into your cookie jar. And the government taxation is one of the biggest that masquerades as Willie Sutton, but there are tons.
So if we can defeat that law, if we can figure out ways to reduce the taxes that we owe, there's going to be more financial freedom for us. So we go through that. We take every opportunity we can to live the law, but pay less taxes, so to speak. Picture running your own economy where the taxes are paid before they get into the economy. And once they're in the economy, you start doubling assets very quickly, at least every 5 years, and don't trigger a taxable event for federal taxes. When we spend money, we still have to do with our states and things like that. It seems like we're being taxed to death. So, but if we can eliminate any part of it, then we're that much better off. That's 5 more key steps that we want you to consider. We want to share with you and show you how to actually implement them in your life. Seth, I think the next session we want to talk about is the old bank style that we're trying to teach, how to get back into the old banking equation that America went from a new country to absolutely the most powerful country on the planet, and we didn't have any banks during that time. So that's what we want to talk about next.
Right, absolutely. Well, folks, you can find us at privatebankingstrategies.com. That's our website. And on our website, we have a plethora of resources for you to educate yourself. The first being a book that Vance and I authored called What the Banks Don't Want You to Know. And those banks, they implement strategies and procedures that we want to teach you that will transfer the wealth curve from banks to you. And so when you come to our website, put your name in and your best email, and you can access that book for free in either an audio version or a PDF written version if you'd rather read it. And you're going to be getting emails from us that has a link to Vance's calendar to schedule the 8-year analysis that we've been talking about. So if our book and this podcast resonate with you, schedule that 8-year exploratory call with Vance and roll up your sleeves and get ready to change the trajectory for you and your family for generations. Vance, any closing comments?
I think that's well said, Seth. I think, folks, there's something better out there. We're trying to share it with as many people as we possibly can. Do yourself a favor, learn something more about money, how you can retain more of it and pay less in taxes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, folks. And we're glad you're here with us and look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.